Hello guys and girls, welcome back to Parkitect. Just clearing up that because we don't need it for now. Okay, so today we're building our first coaster. We are going to build a what's it called? Vertical drop coaster. Adding a bit more of the water here first. Going to carry the river on eventually. Now, I originally start with just a regular steel coaster. And I was going to I really wanted a coaster that kind of ran around the monorail, because although the monorail's not finished, this little bit of it pretty much is. This is how it'll come back into the main station. So I thought it'd be nice to kind of intertwine a coaster there. But I realised quite quickly that there wasn't much space for a steel coaster to do kind of what I wanted. So I thought, well, what can I do that's a smaller coaster that will still work well in that space? And I thought the vertical drop coaster would do really well, very similar in style to something like Oblivion at Alton Towers in the UK, which is basically just one drop. It just has its vertical drop and then heads way back round again to the front. So that's kind of what we're doing here. Vertical drop coaster. There's actually two drops, so it's a little bit more like something like Shekra Busch Gardens in Florida. And I really struggled for ages getting it round this corner enough to get back up so we could do a second drop here. So you'll see that I spent quite a while going back and forth. Originally it was just going to be the one drop here, and then I was going to maybe go into a loop or maybe just even some just sort of like air hills, some bunny hops, or this sort of like swerving corner. I had real trouble figuring out what to do with it and how to get it back to the station. So I messed around for ages and ages here. Eventually what we did was have two drops and it come back out and go into a single loop, just so we've got an inversion in there. Like I said in a previous video, the intensity at the moment on the rides is nowhere near what it should be. It really isn't. It's much lower than it probably should be. But you'll see here we've got that there. It loops round and comes round. Didn't like that at all. Got rid of it. Tried to put in a couple of loops. Realised that this bit here probably needs to be a bit higher to keep the speed up. It was really tricky to get it out of the underground section there and round the corner. I kind of put myself into a bit of a pickle building it on this sort of tight corner here of the park, but I really wanted to use the most of the space that I could. So it just about got through that one loop, you'll see, quite nicely. Didn't make the second one, ended up turning into a bit of a seesaw. Tried to tighten up the loop under the ground there, the corner around under the ground, to see if I could keep up some of the speed. But again, I found it tricky to get it around that corner nicely and still keep enough speed up to make a loop. I think I try again here, and again it doesn't quite do it that time. Try a bit higher, and then it can't get up that one. I really struggled. I knew I wanted the first drop as it was there. Original idea was actually to have it dropping into the water, but for some reason that sent the intensity up to 300. And obviously nobody would ride it there, so I started filming again, and this time just had the drop to the side of the water, but I was happy with that. I just wanted to get it to come out enough and really just about reach up the top there, which I think I've managed to do here, and get a loop in. I think it only still manages that first. Oh, it doesn't even manage that first loop, look. So again, I changed and went for a second drop, and then just brought it out and had it that way instead. Had a two drop ride instead of a loop. Eventually I do add a loop in, but for some reason that's not recorded here. But you'll see in the next video that there is been a loop added to this ride. But here we go. So we've finished off the station, tightened that up a little bit, add in the queue line. We go for quite a long queue, because I imagine this ride would have a long queue, although it never really gets filled up, because like I say, people want something a lot more intense than roller coasters on this game at the moment. I'm hoping the intensity is something they address in the future. So after the queue's done, I just adjust the river a little, and then we start building up the design of it. Now, I had the idea that I didn't just want to build a building around this, a sort of regular building. I name it Death Drop there, but that soon gets changed when I start building out. And originally there was just going to be a sort of castle wall base to it, much like we did with the monorail, and then I was going to build it up into a similar building. But then I noticed these corner pieces, and I thought, actually, that might be quite a cool idea to have it as a bit of a castle thing. So although this area itself isn't very highly themed, I thought a bit of a castle theme might work quite well for this side of the park, and it's something we will embellish over the next few episodes, actually. So with the castle theme, once it's in place, I actually rename the ride to be Bastion, which is a French word for part of a castle, but also means sort of like the last hope, you know, the last bastion. So I add that on the other side as well, and this sort of turret here will end up going into the water. I don't think I do that just yet. I think I go back and realise that it's floating eventually. And then we start building up the main station area. I didn't want to just do castle walls because I think they look a bit too plain, so we've gone for this sort of wooden slats here, and then another level of sort of stucco, I guess you would call it, just to keep it a little bit varied. So this is more of a sort of medieval castle that's built up of stone and wood, as opposed to just a big stone castle. And then we add these two sort of stucco areas at the top here. These in turn cover the high queue on the left hand side there, and the exit of the ride on the right hand side, actual where the ride exits the station. After we've done that, there we go, I figure out the problem there, and then I have to go around with there's these little sort of brick lines that sort of run along just to break the wall up a little bit, and it's a little bit of a tedious job, to be honest, is to go around and add these everywhere and on the corners as well, so you have to just bear with me while I do that. And then I realise that you can see inside the building there, so we fill that in as well, and realise that people are getting their heads chopped off as they hit that piece of wood there, so we adjust that a little there to make it a little bit more comfortable so you don't lose your head. There we go, adding up the bricks around here as well. I'm not adding any mods to this game so far. I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to things like that. The only mod I have added is the on-ride camera mod that you'll see in a moment, because I think that's quite cool that you can actually ride the ride yourself. So we will be doing that. But apart from that, I've not been adding any content mods or anything like that. I know there's a very popular pirate mod in there, but for me, I don't know. The idea I have with mods is that technically with mods you can end up just doing anything, and for me, part of the enjoyment of the game is creating themes and concepts with the limitations that the original game gives you. So that's kind of how I feel regarding mods. Like I say, a camera mod I feel is acceptable because it's just an interesting way to make a video, but when it comes to content, I'll be using, for the most part, the stuff that the game comes with. So here I'm just sort of making these towers look a bit more interesting with some panelling, trying to find a pillar that works properly, and that one does. So we add that all the way around, and I think I might add a little border piece on there as well, going the opposite way, just to make it a little bit more interesting. This is all just aesthetic now, though. None of these buildings are obviously going to be used for anything. These are nice and high up. Originally I was going to leave the top just sort of plain, and like it would be in a real park, but somebody made a point. I think it may have been Silverit who plays this and Planet Coaster, and the difference between those two games is that this is an isometric view, or a pseudo isometric view. It is obviously in 3D, so you're going to be looking at roofs a lot, so really you should make the roofs look interesting, and not worry too much about what it looks like from the ground, because unless you install a mod, you're not going to be seeing what it looks like from the ground. So here I add sort of like a little trellis thing. Not massively happy with this. Doesn't really fit the castle theme, if I'm honest with you, so that may well come off. But I end up adding quite a bit of stuff, I guess, to the top of the things here with cannons and things. But also you could argue that it's visible from the monorail, so that's why we've done it as far as the actual game is concerned, if you were sort of creating a real park. So here I wanted to cover these holes up with rocks, make it a little bit more interesting. In a real park, obviously, you would probably have rocks here and maybe some steam coming out, so you can you don't actually see the hole. It would have been nice maybe to time it a little better so that as one car goes into the hole, another one comes out. It looks like it happens really quick, but I can't see a way of being able to do that, unfortunately. And again, some rocks around the other one there just to sort of cover it up and make it look a bit more interesting and natural. I decided in the end not to do it with that last tunnel because there would have been a hell of a lot of rocks and it probably wouldn't look very interesting. So instead we actually make a little sort of side turret out of that one, and just sort of fill it in and make it look like a little sort of castle area, I guess, and then add a few rocks just to sort of make it look like it's being supported against the waterfront there. So here we go, then we're adding some stuff around the top. There's a fair few bits already of like a medieval theme. You have cannons, weapon racks, barrels and pots and things. I suppose they're relatively generic, but there's some banners and things as well. So I just add those in there, give it a little bit of colour. and just finish off with sort of rafts, pots. I guess they're a bit more piratey, but it just sort of breaks the water up a little bit. There's quite a cool anvil here, so I've kind of made a little sort of weapon creation area at the back here. Again, it will be visible from the monorail, so I'm happy to have a bit of interest there. And that's about it, I think. A couple of barrels here and there. You can't go wrong with too many barrels. So let's cut now then to on-ride video, and we'll see what it actually is like to actually ride it. There you go. We've renamed it to Bastion. Here we go. So off we go. Up. Have a little look around. There we go. Just finding a good seat of how to watch it. There we go. And we're off. So up and out the building. We haven't done anything to the inside of the building really, because apart from the single show of this at the end of the videos, I'm not going to be going into those buildings. So I didn't feel like it needed much happening in there. We come up and over and around. It would be nice to be able to pause it here. I can't find a way of doing that, so we go straight into the drop and in the tunnel. It'd be nice if that was a bit darker as well, but alas, that's what we've got to deal with. And around and into the second drop. You'll see here, we have added the loop here. So you'll see now that we come out and we go into a loop now instead, and it just gets over, there we go, and then round into a nice banked curve and back in again. So there we go, that's the only difference we added, was a loop. Oh, and we lose our heads. And that guy's got a pumpkin for a head. How weird is that? Okay, never noticed that. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.